we are off to Great Britain, where one of the oddest cases of SA and rape of women has happened recently that I've ever heard. Okay. I'm going to tell you right now because I already know it happens. Although I put up the disclaimer that I do not want minors on my channel, I know some of you are hot-headed and you're going to do it anyway. But I'm still going to have the disclaimer up, and I may keep it. We'll see once I edit this. We may keep it for a significant amount of the time so that the point is gotten across. Because you can tell minors to not watch your channels, and to a degree, some of them are going to do it anyway. There's no stopping that, right? Which is unfortunate. Most adults listening, though, are going to understand the story. You all know when I read the Daily Mail, because I'm pretty much got a love-hate relationship. More, I won't say love-hate. Their stories are interesting. Because being a tabloid, they still tell some truth. It's a United Kingdom tabloid, right? So what's going to happen with this story is that I'm not going to clip it like I normally do within the video, but I will. Hopefully, if it didn't disappear, because again, this is what happens with the computer. The link can disappear when you're on the page for too long. So you won't see the article here itself, but I'm going to tell you what happened. A mother and daughter in Great Britain, her adult daughter, mind you, both old enough to drink, had a good time at a concert of a well-known rapper in Great Britain. He's one of the best right now in that country. I won't say names. You can go read the article if you like. They splurged on a rather expensive hotel in some area in London for 2 nights and made it a mother-daughter girls trip. I'm thinking this happened that first night. They'd both come back. They'd both been drunk. And so man that works at the hotel offered to take them to their room. They didn't think nothing of it because he worked at the hotel and they were both really drunk. So the daughter decided she wanted to go smoke a cigarette. Okay. While she's smoking a cigarette, the man starts to take off the socks and shoes of the mother. Then he started to act really weird. Next thing she knew, he had her big toe in his mouth. See, the reason I told you is because this sounds bizarre, so that's why I told you that SA and grape was gonna follow, so just follow me this. She runs out of the room, get away from him somehow, and tells them to call the police. So the police are called. She explains her story, and then when she realized they aren't going to do anything, she gets belligerent with the police, and the police ask the hotel, the very guy who just assaulted her by putting her big toe in his mouth without her consent, what would you prefer me to do? And the guy said, take her away. And that's what the police do. That's March 30th, 2022. January 2024, almost 2 years later. Now, mind you, before I get to that, stick with that January 20th, 2024. Her daughter, because she got kicked out of the hotel by default, the daughter was also kicked out. So while she spent the night in jail, her daughter, who's a little bit inebriated, had to go and try to catch transportation home in the middle of the night. The article doesn't say how she fared, but I'm hoping she was okay. Now, January 2024, she gets a phone call. Come to find out, she's not the only one. So the same police force who ignored her initially now want to talk to her. Because although he sucked some other women's toes without their consent after her, yes, he continued the toe sucking. He escalated to full on SA and grape. They even believe there's more victims. And I think one of the victims that he either SA'd or graped took him to, the authorities believed it, and then they remembered this woman's report. So now the two officers that took her away are being investigated. If you're from Great Britain, I mean no disrespect, and I understand that what works in the United States doesn't necessarily work for you all. But sometimes people are critical of our means of protection and say that it can cause some harm, and absolutely it can. Do women, and this is a dumb question, I know some do, is there an increase in women taking self-defense classes like jiu-jitsu or Krav Maga? Because I look at the crisis in Great Britain right now as well, with what happened to the little girls and how they were unalived by another child. And because of the laws you have in place, there's only so much you can do. If you're a woman from Great Britain right now, how is your mental health with this? Because I can imagine if that is your heritage and your country, you have to feel fairly unsafe. That man took her socks and shoes off and sucked her toe. And then woke up beside another woman. She woke up to her toes being licked. And I can't help but wonder, is this sadistic behavior growing in Great Britain because people know, because of somewhat lax laws, that they can harm and mistreat you all that way? Because I never thought in a million years someone would go from wanting to assault people by sucking their toes first and then escalate to SA and grape. I'm silent because I read the story. I can't wrap my mind around this. See, there's only so much political correctness we can have. We have to be realistic, okay? And I'm not saying chivalry is out, but I'm saying it's on life support. And when people realize they can take chivalry away from you and tell you that the average man is harm to you, oh, I'd much rather take my chances with the bear than the man. This is what happens, because what this man was doing is that he worked at hotels, and when women would come in, he would act one way, then get up to their rooms and act another way. So he put himself in the position to be able to have the keys and access to your room. You gotta imagine how scary that is. And just imagine that from the time you walked in, this sick and twisted person probably knew what their plans were and knew who they set their sight on. Chivalry is on life support. This woman did nothing wrong, because if you randomly do that to me, I can't tell you what I would or wouldn't do. I wasn't in her situation. But what I can say is we have to be careful about laxed laws. And look, I'm not, if you're a feminist, I'm not sitting here saying that these women deserved what they got. I'm not. I'm saying there's causation and downsides to being anti something. And in the West, we're paying a price for being anti-man, and this is an example of it. Sure, her spouse could have probably stayed at home. Sure, she may have been married. I did not catch that in the article. But the fact that her daughter had to go home in the cloak of night by herself and that she was arrested speaks volumes. Because this woman knew it was going to happen again, and it did, and it escalated. What methods are you all allowed to use to protect yourself in Great Britain? Pardon the dog in the background, because I think that's our new neighbors, and I despise when people can't train their pets, but there's a lot of that here in the United States where people don't let their dogs just bark for hours. So I apologize for that if you can hear it. The reason this bothers me is because I can see it coming to the United States. If anything, it's already here. If you can, please travel in bigger groups, ladies, and have some vigilance about you. Because this Western chivalry that you all think still exists is on life support. And he's not indicative of all men. Don't get me wrong, because I have male subscribers. This dude just got issues. Let's just keep it a buck. Just be careful who's around you. Keep an eye on your surroundings. Be aware of where you are and how you can escape. Even if you can't have weapons like we do in the United States. And even women here, just be careful of what's around you. Know where you can and cannot go. And how you cannot be backed in a corner. Y'all be careful out there.